Well, I think it's fair to say that Major 5 was a massive surprise to everyone. One of the best events we've ever had. Definitely one of the most shocking, with that incredible reverse sweep of a 5-4 victory for Rocker in the final, and a lot of different upsets throughout. I actually thought coming into this tournament that OpTic Chicago really were in a position to lose it. They'd looked phenomenal throughout Stage 5 groups. They'd made minor adjustments and improvements that I have covered on this channel, and I really did think that they would go on to win it. However, turns out not there yet. They've still got a couple of things to improve, and I'm going to run through what it is that's still stopping them from winning a major. This is Reverse Sweep Round 11, presented by USAA Insurance. The first thing that is stopping OpTic Chicago from going on to win a major is the Toronto Ultra. I really didn't realize how much they struggle against this side. In the 5 matchups that these two teams have had, OpTic have won 1, and that was back in Stage 1. So they've lost all of the last 4, and in many ways, it comes down to the search and destroy. OpTic have managed to win 1 in 7 search maps, with that one coming this weekend. They actually have a better S&D record against the Atlanta FaZe, arguably the best S&D team in the league, and there's something here that just doesn't add up. And one of the players that is particularly really struggling when it comes to this matchup is Formal. He's currently running a .71 in S&Ds against the Toronto Ultra, and the side are really struggling to pick up the slack that he is leaving in there. We've spoken a little bit before about how he plays as an island player a lot for OpTic. He's often off to the side looking to play for information and perhaps rotate in with his team. But is he doing that enough? He's definitely not getting the first blood. So what is going on here? Is he overchalling, getting caught out of position often? I'm not sure, but whatever it is, it's certainly not resulting in victories for OpTic, who overall have a less than 50% first blood rate against Toronto, and that as well might explain a little bit of the difficulties here. OpTic are actually ahead in the hard points, winning 6, losing 4, but behind in the controls, winning 2, losing 3. And it's interesting actually, because the players that are struggling a lot in the controls against Toronto Ultra are the AR players. Now, Formal, as I will come to later, is actually usually really good in control, and it's also Dashy that is the worst player for OpTic in these control matchups. His engagement rate is also extremely low, and he's just being shut down considerably, and I think a lot of that comes to insight of the Toronto Ultra, who loves playing against OpTic. He's got a 1.41 in the search and destroys. He's over a 1.1 when it comes to the control. He loves taking on the ARs in these other modes. Let's quickly hop on then to the second thing that I think is slowing OpTic down a bit, and that is money hills. What is going on here with OpTic? Don't get me wrong, on some maps they do see out the important hills. They rotate in, they get it done and dusted, and that's fine. But they have a bit of a soft underbelly. And an example here is going to be that hard point that they played against Toronto in that elimination match this week. They have P2 in their midst. They managed to repel the first wave on Garrison. They're in there, the setup, fine. They then lose the second wave, give up just under half of the hill. Do they answer back when they rotate into P3? Not at all. Toronto Ultra completely shut them out and keep OpTic away from the point. And yes, this is one isolated incident, so why have you brought it up, Andy? Well, this isn't an isolated incident at all. The reverse sweep series the other day, where OpTic lost to LA Thieves. P2, very important when it comes to checkmate. OpTic managed to pick up 6 points. LA Thieves have 86. Stage 4 major, elimination series against Dallas from Moscow. We come to P2. Dallas here put together 100 points. OpTic, zilch, nothing, 0, nada. Don't get a single point across the rotations here. Okay, so Dallas have P2 locked down. Did OpTic then give that up, play for P3? Some teams do. You can do that. These are both considered money hills, and it's an opportunity to answer back. But Dallas end up securing 22 points across 2 P3 hills. OpTic secure 74. Now, some quick maths there will tell you that across the 2 rotations, across the money hills, Dallas secure almost 50 points more than OpTic. I could go on with many examples. I'm not going to, because that should be enough, but this happens over and over again. OpTic just have this little bit of a softer underbelly when it comes to making sure they prioritize the hills where you can scoop up a massive amount of points. And finally, we come to Formal's woes. The issues around Formal, what is going on here, and why he's a big part of the struggles that OpTic are having when it comes to those big matches, those big major engagements. And before I get into this segment, I just want to say very quickly that Formal is obviously a fantastic player. I do not want the Greenwall jumping on my head for this, but I do have plenty to back this up. Formal needs to pick it up when it comes to these big matches. I spoke earlier about Formal's struggles, specifically against Toronto, who have knocked OpTic out of several several majors, so that factors into this a bit. But there's also the fact that when it comes to stage 5 and the stage that everyone's been saying OpTic looked great and looked the best, Formal's considerably under his teammates, especially in the hardpoint KDs where he's sat in negative. And I know KD doesn't tell the whole story, but he's a main AR. Usually their stats are inflated, if anything. So what is going on here? He's just not making it happen in the slaying department. It might have been OpTic's best stage, but it certainly still hasn't been great for Formal. Also, he has by far the lowest first blood percentage when it comes to search and destroys. So how impactful are his kills being? He's not necessarily doing anything special here. Where he is performing is control. And just to show you the impact that a well-playing Formal has on this side, OpTic are 8 wins, 7 losses in hardpoint, 8 wins, 5 losses in the search and destroy. The mode that OpTic are seeing a really well-playing Formal, they are 7 wins and 2 losses. That is top tier form. That is the kind of record that if you had across all 3 modes, you would go on to win championships, win a major. So if Formal can step it up in those other 2 modes, who's to say that OpTic can't go out and win the whole thing? And at the minute, that for me is the X factor. That is where we are seeing that crumbling down. And finally, I went back and looked over all of OpTic's major losses so far this year. And yes, okay, that is going to be a place where everyone is struggling because it's the losing series. However, Formal is floundering, specifically in the search and destroy. He's rocking a 0.77. And this mode is where they really do come apart. And a big part of that, I feel, is that Formal is really struggling.